I'm sure you've heard the news. MK-Ultra, the CIA's mind control program, is one of the most controversial and secretive projects in history. We're diving deep into MK-Ultra. This wasn't just a small-scale operation, it was a massive, clandestine project that spanned decades. It ran from the 1950s to the 70s, and it was all about one thing: control. The CIA was obsessed with the idea of controlling the human mind. They wanted to crack the code of the human brain. They believed that if they could understand how the brain worked, they could manipulate it to their advantage. The CIA aimed to control people's thoughts, their actions, their very being. They wanted to create a world where they could pull the strings, and everyone else would just follow along. Imagine a world where your thoughts aren't your own, where you're just a puppet for someone else. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? That's the terrifying reality MK-Ultra was trying to create. They were willing to go to any lengths to achieve their goals, no matter how dark or twisted. Now this wasn't some sci-fi fantasy. This was real life, happening right under our noses. The CIA was conducting these experiments in secret, away from the public eye. This was real life, happening right under our noses. People had no idea that they were being used as guinea pigs in these horrific experiments. The Cold War was in full swing, and the CIA was convinced that the Soviets were already using mind control techniques. They panicked. They thought they were falling behind in this psychological arms race. The fear of being outpaced by the Soviets drove them to take extreme measures. So, they embarked on a top-secret mission to develop their own mind control program. They called it MK-Ultra, and it was shrouded in secrecy. The CIA poured millions of dollars into MK-Ultra. They spared no expense in their quest for control. They recruited scientists, doctors, and even former Nazis who had experimented on prisoners during World War II. These guys were ruthless. They had no qualms about crossing ethical lines. They were willing to do whatever it took to achieve their goals, no matter how unethical or inhumane. The ends justified the means in their eyes. They conducted experiments on unsuspecting citizens, soldiers, and even their own agents. No one was safe from their reach. They dosed them with LSD, tortured them, and subjected them to electroshock therapy. The methods they used were brutal and inhumane. All in the name of science, they said. But really, it was just a cover for their twisted experiments. The methods used in MK-Ultra were straight out of a horror movie. Imagine a world where the boundaries of human ethics were not just pushed, but completely obliterated. This was the reality for those unfortunate enough to be caught in the web of MK-Ultra. We're talking intense psychological torture, designed to break people down and make them more susceptible to suggestion. The goal was to shatter the human psyche, to strip away the layers of the mind until nothing but a malleable core remained. They used sensory deprivation, keeping people locked in dark, silent rooms for days on end. Imagine the crushing weight of silence, the oppressive darkness that never lifts. It was enough to drive anyone to the brink of madness. They bombarded others with flashing lights and constant noise, driving them to the brink of insanity. The relentless assault on the senses was designed to break down any resistance, to make the mind pliable and open to manipulation. But the CIA's favorite tool? LSD. This powerful hallucinogen was seen as a key to unlocking the deepest recesses of the human mind. They were obsessed with this psychedelic drug. They believed it held the potential to control thoughts, to erase memories, and to implant new ones. They thought it was the key to unlocking the secrets of the mind. Scientists conducted countless experiments, hoping to find the perfect formula for mind control. They believed they could use it to erase memories, implant new ones, and even create Manchurian candidate-style assassins. The idea was to create a perfect soldier, one who could be programmed to carry out any command without question. They slipped LSD into people's drinks, their food, even their cigarettes. No one was safe from their reach. They dosed unsuspecting victims in bars, restaurants, and even hospitals. Everyday places became the hunting grounds for these covert operatives. These people had no idea what was happening to them. They were suddenly thrust into a world of confusion and terror, their minds unraveling without warning. They were just guinea pigs in a twisted experiment. The experiments were brutal. The subjects were treated as mere tools, their humanity stripped away in the name of science. Subjects experienced terrifying hallucinations, intense paranoia, and complete loss of control. The psychological torment was relentless, leaving deep scars on their minds. Some even committed suicide or suffered permanent psychological damage. The aftermath of these experiments was devastating, with many never fully recovering from the trauma. The CIA didn't care. They were too busy chasing the elusive dragon of mind control. The human cost was just collateral damage in their quest for power and control. The CIA didn't discriminate when it came to choosing their victims. Their reach was extensive and their methods were ruthless. They experimented on anyone they could get their hands on. Prisoners, who were already living in harsh conditions and had no means to resist or escape. Mental patients who were vulnerable and often unable to comprehend what was happening to them, and soldiers who had dedicated their lives to serving their country, only to be betrayed by the very institution they trusted. Even ordinary citizens who had no idea what hit them. These unsuspecting individuals were going about their daily lives, completely unaware that they were being used as guinea pigs in a series of unethical experiments. One of the most infamous cases involved a man named Frank Olson. Olson was a CIA scientist who had become disillusioned with the agency's work. He had seen too much, and the weight of the secrets he carried began to take a toll on him. Olson was a CIA scientist who had become disillusioned with the agency's work. He was deeply troubled by the unethical practices he witnessed, and the moral implications of the experiments being conducted. He threatened to go public with what he knew about MK-Ultra. This was a dangerous move, as the CIA was determined to keep their operations under wraps at any cost. A few days later, he fell from a window in New York City. The circumstances surrounding his death were suspicious, to say the least. The CIA claimed it was suicide, but many believe he was silenced. The truth remains shrouded in mystery, but Olson's case is a stark reminder of the lengths to which the agency would go to protect their secrets. The CIA treated people like lab rats, not human beings. They showed a complete disregard for the dignity and well-being of their subjects, viewing them merely as tools to be used and discarded. They left a trail of shattered lives in their wake. The psychological and emotional scars inflicted on the victims were profound and long-lasting. The worst part? Most of the victims never even knew they were part of MK-Ultra. They were left to grapple with the inexplicable changes in their mental state, never understanding the true cause of their suffering. The driving force behind MK-Ultra was a man named Sidney Gottlieb. Gottlieb was a brilliant but deeply troubled chemist who headed up the CIA's Technical Services Division. He was obsessed with the idea of mind control. He believed it was the ultimate weapon, one that could give the United States a decisive edge over its enemies. Gottlieb was a shadowy figure, a true puppet master who operated in the darkest corners of the government. He was ruthless and ambitious, willing to do whatever it took to achieve his goals. He answered to no one, not even the president. Gottlieb was convinced that he could create a truth serum that would force anyone to reveal their secrets. Imagine that, folks. No more lies, no more deception. He also believed he could develop techniques to program assassins, turning them into mindless killing machines. Under Gottlieb's leadership, MK-Ultra spiraled out of control. The experiments became increasingly bizarre and unethical. Gottlieb didn't care about the human cost. He was too focused on his own twisted vision. By the early 1970s, the walls were closing in on MK-Ultra. Rumors of the program began to leak out, and Congress launched an investigation. Fearing exposure, Gottlieb ordered the destruction of all MK-Ultra records. Thousands of documents were shredded, burned, or simply vanished into thin air, but Gottlieb's attempt to cover up his crimes backfired spectacularly. A few boxes of documents survived the purge, and they contained shocking details about the program's scope and brutality. When these documents came to light, the public was outraged. The Senate held hearings, but Gottlieb and his cronies claimed they could no longer remember the details of the program. They hid behind a wall of secrecy and deception. No one was ever held accountable for the crimes of MK-Ultra, but the damage was done. The MK-Ultra scandal eroded public trust in the government. It showed that even the most powerful institutions could be corrupted by unchecked power and ambition. If you found this video interesting, please like and subscribe to my channel for more fascinating content.